Hi, this is Valdirio. In this session, I will show you how to configure Satellite 6 to authenticate in LDAP. So, in my screen, you can see one Windows server, this box, with Active Directory running and already configured. And here we have one satellite server without external authentication. Okay? And at the bottom we have just one console to the satellite server. The first information that we need is the Windows information. So we have to know the domain, we have to know the IP address or host name, and we need one service account with the password. Sometimes customer send to us the password. Sometimes customers say to us the password, sometimes not. They like just to copy and paste. Okay, how can we check if the our satellite environment is connecting to the Windows server? The first thing that we can do is just install Open LDAP client, because we can try to connect directly via satellite server in the customer Active Directory, just to do a simple query using this account and this credential. If this works, fine. If not, we have to fix this one first. So let me show you. Here we have already installed the OpenLDAP client, and with the OpenLDAP client you can execute LDAP cert. You have this command. The normal way that you can do this query is LDAP search -x-b. Here you have to define the base DN where you want looking for. By default and according our documentation should be cn equal users, dc equal domain, dc equal net, or should be here the default customer base DN. -8 here should be the IP or name of your Active Directory server. -d, this is the service account, okay, and -w in uppercase. When we define this one in uppercase, the password will be asked. Sometimes customer will send to us the password, sometimes not. So in this case, just test we can put here. So let's do this test in our environment. This is our IP address of our Active Directory. This is our base DN. Okay, but how can I say what is the correct base DN of the customer? We can just check here in the Active Directory and click. At the top you can see adtest.net. This should be my top level. Another way to discover this one, before let me show you this one, advanced feature. This is the default after Active Directory installation is disabled. So let's check here. We have proper and just manage it in general. I don't have this kind of information about base DN, but I would like to get this one via my Active Directory. So what you can do is click Overview, Advanced Features. This will not change nothing in Active Directory environment, okay? Just visualization. So if you get this kind of situation, the customer, we can enable this one. And now proper. Okay, now you can see object security and attribute editor. We'll click here, attribute editor, and distinguish name, and click over view button. Great. Now we have the base DN, and you can do this one to everything. All objects in the forest, you can do the same procedure. Right click, property, attribute editor, distinguish name. You get the complete path. Okay. So let's copy this one. So let's check here before. We have the distinguished name of the top level, but we have here a CN users. Let's check this one. We have users, and here we have some users. We have two kinds of clients. We have clients that use this one in a default mode. Default mode, they will create a users, new users, and all of them will be here just inside user. Okay. In this case, this will works fine. But we have clients that create environment like this one. Take a look. We have EMEA. Inside EMEA, I have organization unit admin. I have groups. I have users. The same to NA. I have admin. I have groups, and I have users. And inside each one, I have users, and I have groups, and I have admins. So, okay, what I should do? I will remove in fact this one. We will work with the top level and just create some filters. But this is the next step. For now, let's come back here and just test the connection using this account. So let's do this query. Let me put on top here. I know the password. The password is Red Hat 1 exclamation, and voila, works. We have a lot of information here, and at the bottom we have one summary. Okay, take a look here. Num response 33. Now I remove my users, and I will get from the top level the same thing. Now I have a lot of more information. Why? Because right now I'm just querying all forest. Let me put this one here just to compare. Great. So 33, 246. We have a lot of objects in our forest. That's okay. For now, let's test using W in lowercase, and we have to define the password. It will be the same. Great. So for now, we can sure that this user is connecting normally. Okay. Take a look here. I have adtest.net, so I can use my service account with .net, works fine. I can use without net, works fine. Let's test without domain. Doesn't work, so pay attention this. And another way is adtest backslash account. Doesn't work. Adtest. doesn't work. So what we will recommend to use in the configuration will be like this or this. So let's to satellite configuration. Here you can click over administer LDAP authentication. Will be this window. New, click over new authentication source, and here you can define one name to this authentication: Active Directory out. The server will be the IP or host name of your server. We have this one here. Here you can enable or disable the cryptography. We will use this one by default, disable. And at the bottom you can select your authenticate environment: free IPA, Active Directory, or POSIX. Let's use Active Directory. In account tab we have to define some informations. This information is about the service account, so we will use this one. But remember, we just saw here, this one worked and this one worked, so we can just copy and paste. We know the password, and base DN and group DN. The base DN is the same of here. If I would like to filter for now, like our user have users just here, just in user folders, so I can just use this base DN: cn equal users, comma dc main, comma dc net. But if I have situation like this, like I explained to you, different organization units, we have to define the top level. So let's do this one first. Okay, we're talking about group DN after and LDAP filter after. Let's uncheck this one and let's select this one: automatically create account informant. I will show you why. In attribute mappings we have to define some fields. So in the first login name attribute you use SAM account name. This is unique different from the left side, the right side. You can check here. Okay, this one given name, this one SN, mail, and photo is optional, but you can use this one too. This information satellite server will bring from your Active Directory environment. Okay, after this, submit. Okay, right now we have already configured our authentication, external authentication. So let's try to connect. I have this user, Waldy. Let's just define the password here. Will be Red Hat 1 exclamation. And now let's open a new window, incognito window, just to try the authentication. 57. Waldy Red Hat 1 exclamation. Voila, this happens all the time. We have information, but we don't have all information in your Active Directory, so we have to define this one. Let's put this one. Here is just to test and submit. As you can see, this user don't have permission to see nothing, so it's expected this information, permission denied, because this user can't see the main page. Okay, right now we have configured the environment and my user is connecting normally but without permission. What the administrator have to do or should do right now: administer users, and here will appear the new user. Another great point here is if the client is using one specific organization and location, the new user will not appear because by default the user will be in any organization and any location. So you have to change this one to any organization, any location, and will be possible to see all users in your satellite environment. Okay, so here we have this user. This user have the information. This one we define manually because we don't have this information in our Active Directory. We have some mail preference here, location, organization, and roles. So here we can define the location, and at the bottom we can define the default on login. What this means: when customer login, this will be selected automatically. Let me show you without. I will define just one role here, view. In this, customer can view everything, but will not be possible to do just visualization. Let's click on submit, and let's come back here. Waldy, Red Hat 1. Okay, I can't see everything, but take a look here. Any organization and any location. Let's come back to Waldy. Location will be city, and I will define as the full. The same here. Right now, let's log out and log in again. Great. Right now we can see at the top the organization and location. Okay, amazing. Right now we have our environment configured to authenticate the users from Active Directory. Let me show you another great thing. This is about user group. What is user group? I would like to define one group in my Active Directory just to define permissions to this group, and when my user authenticate in satellite server, they will receive one pre-configured personalization or configuration, or in fact role. Okay, so let's take a look here. We have one group, satellite 6 EMEA, and the member of this one, let me check if is this user EMEA. We have user EMEA, and he is member of user EMEA. He is member of the group satellite 6 EMEA. Let's define the password for this one. Red Hat 1. Red Hat 1. Okay, right now let's create here new user group. Here you can define any name. Okay, we recommend be the same name because when you have a lot of groups, you define a lot of rules here, and will not be easy to locate something after. So satellite 6 EMEA. We have roles. Okay, in this one I will define just this. And external, I will click over add external user group. We will define the group here, the group name. This name should be the same name that we have in our Active Directory. And here you can select your authentication source. After this, submit. Whoa, is not found in the authentication source. Why? Take a look. We have this group in this structure, groups, inside EMEA, below top level. In our LDAP authentication, we define our baseline as users. So that group should be below users, and this is not a fact. So right now what we have to do is just change here or define the path here to our group DN. Okay, but the best way to do this one is put here as top level. Let's change this one, and let's come back to our group configuration, user group configuration. Let's create again, define some roles, and add this one. If we define a wrong name here, the satellite will try to configure and will check. Okay, we don't have this group, I will not add the information. That's it. Created with successful. Why? Because right now we are looking for in the entire forest. Okay, and what has happened here? We have these users in our foreman environment, in our satellite, and we have one process that run it 30 minutes. Let me show you. Slash etc slash cron.d slash foreman. Here we get information from the LDAP environment using this one. Okay, so it 30 minutes your satellite server will connect to the Active Directory just to execute this command. They will try to get information just to update this one. Imagine I have Waldy, and Waldy is in that group. If I try to check here submit, when I come back you can see this is not selected because the satellite will check this one only if this user is a member of that group. Okay, so we can just force this one manually like this, or we can just click over external groups and click on refresh button. Will be the same thing. So let's test this one. We know Waldy is not a member of that group, so will not be selected. The user will appear here too. By the way, we know who are the user. This EMEA user, I think. User EMEA. So let's log in with this user. Log out. So here we will log in user EMEA and Red Hat password. As you can see, at the first login we don't have any permission yet. Okay, user EMEA at redhat.com. By the way, let's check here. We don't have this information about this user yet, so we can force this one. We have user here. I cannot check as I showed you, but we can click here and click over external and click over refresh button, or we can use this command just to refresh this information. Let's force here, refresh. Now we can see the user here automatically. Refresh page here will not work, will be necessary execute a logout and login again. User EMEA. That's it. Right now we can see some features in our page according the group role. If we define more here, for now we can just reload the page and will appear some information. Amazing. But why? Why is not enabled automatically when client login? Let me show you. Let's come back to the server, administer, users. Let's remove this user EMEA. Okay, let's check in administer LDAP Authentication. Here we have in knockout tab, we have this option, user group sync. This will force the satellite to sync at the same time that you are logging for the first time. So if we enable this one, we don't have the user more here. Okay, and in user group we don't have user information, but we have roles predefined. So let's take a look. Let's try to log in again. User EMEA Red Hat 1. Whoa, amazing, works fine. So now we can see here user EMEA. We can see all flags, all options enable, and just user EMEA at red.com. And this will works fine. User EMEA Red Hat 1. The problem here is when customer have a huge Active Directory. In this case, or we can create a filter, or this time to login will be very long. Okay, they will try to connecting like 1 minute, 1 minute and a half, and in format tail will not possible to see any issue or any error because was authenticated, but in fact satellite is just trying to retrieve some information from the Active Directory. So in this case you can explain to customer, okay, let's uncheck this one. At the first time that your client login will not appear the features at the top, but customer can wait 30 minutes, or you as admin can just click on refresh in user groups. Let me show you. User groups, click over the group, external group, refresh this one, And after this, customer can log in and will appear normally all features in their screen. Another way to do this one, and now talking about restriction, is create a filter, LDAP filter. How to do this? Imagine now we have here the top level. All users in my Active Directory can log in my satellite server. Make sense? Yes, sure. So here, for example, all users here should be able to connect. All users in NA, all users in EMEA. But take a look. I would like to define just this group connecting. Okay, I have in my Active Directory one group, Satellite 6 EMEA, and only members of this group should be connected. I have here two users, just user EMEA and add user 1. So let's come back to the terminal. I just prepared some queries here, but the main query about the filter should be this one. You can run this query at the CLI just to confirm if your query is correct or not. So let's take a look. We are doing a LDAP search at the top level. We are doing the LDAP search at the top level here on this server using this service account with this password, and here we have the query, the filter. Okay, my filter is member of and this group. In other words, just members of this group, Satellite 6 EMEA, located at this place, will be able to connect. Let's run this query in our terminal. What I have here, number of entries, just 2. And if I check here, I have the first one, AD user 1, and user EMEA. If we check here, members, I have AD user 1 and user EMEA, the same thing. Okay, let's copy this query, this filter, and put in our satellite and submit. Now let's try to connect using WALD. It's not possible to connect, okay, because now we have one permission, we have one query in our authentication, and this is amazing and very useful because right now the authentication will be very faster because you are doing the filter right here. Okay, but I would like to add this user, WALD. So let's come back to Satellite 6 EMEA members. I will add WALD here. WALD here. This one. Apply. Okay. So let's try again. Works fine. And take a look here. If we run again, now I have 3 entries. Let's check. AD user 1. We have user EMEA. And right now we have Waldi user. So that's it. We can define a group here. We can define a filter here. And right now we can check this one, user group sync, because and right now we works fine. To conclude, let's check again user group. We have satellite 6 EMEA. Let's just update external group. Right now I have Waldi, and Waldi will receive all permissions from this one, these roles. Imagine we have one admin group, and I can do something like this. Admin group, I will define the role as admin. It will not be necessary to check anyone here, and I will just add the information here. Let's try this one. This is the normal configuration that we have when talking about LDAP authentication. Okay, just a fast review. We have here one name. Here you can define the Active Directory server name, the host name, the IP address, or just one alias to all servers that you have. Account name, you can use here one account name, a service account name, just to connect. You can define the top level, and this will help you a lot when customer have a huge Active Directory with a huge number of users, objects, in fact everything. Can be printers, can be users, can be so all objects in one forest. Normally I like to enable this one because we'll create a local account, and if customer have any kind of information missing in Active Directory, will not possible connect, like mail or surname in our case. Okay, so this one will force to create a local account, and customer can add this information manually. User group sync will force to get all information at the moment that user are logging. This query will help because we will looking for less objects in your forest, and then will be faster. By the way, if you don't want to use any query, you can just uncheck this one, and customer can log out after 30 minutes, or if admin click on refresh, they receive all information, all roles from the user groups. Attribute mappings, you can just copy and paste all information here. The unique difference is this one. We will use UID when you are connecting in the LDAP or IPA, the IDM authentication. By the way, using Active Directory, we'll use some account name. In user groups, we will create a group. Here can be any name. I really recommend you define the same name of the Active Directory group. The roles, you define what this user can do, and external group, here you define the name of your group in Active Directory. Should be the same name. If you put a wrong name, it will not work. And that's it. In this session, we saw how to configure Satellite 6 to authenticate in LDAP environment. Thanks for watching.